Welcome back to the Pro Football Pod. We are bringing you another episode talking about the matchups for Week 11, quarterbacks and wide receivers. Got some good ones for you. Want to start it off with Kyler
Lock
Murray.
in.
We
My
talked
boy
about him
back.
last week,
He's back.
and we said it last week that he averages 20 points a game, that he's an elite quarterback, that he's great for fantasy. And he ended up winning the game. Trey McBride, shout out. Dude looked like a freaking boss at the very end whenever Marquise Brown was, I think that he went out of the game for something, but Trey McBride got it done no matter what.
Is he our next Travis Kelce?
I don't know about if we can call it that yet. I think Mark Andrews is probably the next Travis Kelce. But
Well, no, we need like a younger one.
I feel that.
Much younger.
I don't think we're going to
Also,
get
Andrews
that too
is
much.
Main
Andrews is on
thing
his
with
way out too.
Kyler is the knee. The knee looked healthy.
Mm-hmm.
They brought somebody else in for the tush push because that's not who they want Kyler to be. He's not going to be the guy that's in the middle of the scrum. But dude, on that touchdown that he had and some of the run and slides that he was doing, like he looks electric. He's a lightning bolt on the field. It's crazy what that guy is able to do as an athlete. I love it. I mean, every moment of watching him play is electric. I want him on my fantasy team just so I have an excuse.
I
He's
picked
Mighty
him up.
Mouse.
Well, you said what?
He's Mighty Mouse.
Oh, okay.
I don't know about that after last year, non-contact injury to the knee. Maybe we should call him just Speedy Gonzalez. I think that's a better little moniker.
There you go.
Yeah, he popped.
So he had Atlanta last week. Atlanta was a pretty easy matchup. He does have Houston this week, which I think is going to lead to what's been happening to a lot of Houston games lately. The games are close. They're probably going to lose to Houston, but I think that he's going to be able to keep it in the realm of competition with his legs and just in general, he's not going to take no for an answer. He keeps drives alive. That's what he does, and I think he's going to find value this week. That's why we were talking about him here in the preview.
Agreed. I think it's going to be, like you said, it'll be close enough to where he'll be able to stay effective in the game to where the Texans aren't able to just pin their ears back and come at him just every play because the Cardinals are down by 17 points. But I do think that the Texans will also get enough pressure on him to where Kyler will be forced to use his legs, which just overall will up his fantasy value.
How did Hollywood do last week? Hollywood Brown. Did he pop?
Uno memento.
Did he do anything? Did you watched the game, right, Coach? Did you see him get a reception?
He had one reception for 28 yards.
How many targets did he get, though?
Not
4.
much.
I think that had a lot to do with the way that the game was working for him. I think also that if you guys remember, Rondale Moore always had value whenever Kyler was in. Maybe it's because they're both really, really tiny people, so he's got respect for him. Or maybe it's just that Rondale Moore is a freak athlete and he's open so often if you can just put the ball in a spot that he can get to. So I think that we said last week in some of our videos that we didn't like Marquise Brown. That going forward, you're a little bit more questionable because of Michael Wilson and some of these other players. Michael Wilson had a 55-yard touchdown called back, and without that, he would have ended up. With that play, he would have ended up as a much higher, fantasy relevant look, which is exactly why I think that he's someone worth looking at now. I think before these guys pop off is when you want to get him. If you could have gotten Trey McBride right after Zach Ertz went down before his first week, then you don't have to worry about wavering a tight end for the rest of the year. You have your tight end. You've got the guy that's going to get all the work until Zach Ertz comes back.
What's the point of the Cardinals even trying, though? Isn't their season done?
I mean, yes and no. The point of trying is to build up a good roster of players that want to come and play for you. Being a shitty team year after year means no veterans want to come and play. No good receivers want to come in, and they let DeAndre Hopkins go after he did nothing for getting them to the playoffs. And like, it's not like he did nothing. He was a good player whenever he played for Arizona, but it wasn't enough, and they weren't able to call enough in. It was all about money. So I think that's why. Similar to Washington. Washington's not going to make the playoffs this year, most likely. They're not going to be a great team, but they're staying scrappy and trying to stay in these games. And they're trying to develop their young quarterback and show people that, hey, maybe this is where you want to be. Honestly, I don't know how they could get better receivers than what they have. Like Jahan Dotson, Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, all elite playmaking athletes. All of them.
And Sam Howell this last week threw for 312 yards. Meanwhile, the three guys that you just mentioned totaled only 39 of them.
Yeah, and Terry McLaurin's, most of it came on that last drive where he got like one big play.
Yeah.
Where did it go?
Sam Howell's been balling. He has absolutely been balling right now. I believe with Kirk getting hurt and with Tua on the bye week, this last game pushed Sam Howell into the league lead for passing yards, which is nuts.
He's got more than Tua?
As of right now.
Damn bye weeks.
Yeah, the
Damn bye weeks. When you look at the averages, though, we know who the best is.
There you go.
Now, 3 touchdowns.
I don't see any reason for it to change.
This is his third game with 3+ touchdowns. He did it versus Atlanta. He did it versus Philly with 4, and now he's done it versus Seattle. He's got the Giants this week, which is supposed to be a hard matchup based off of the previous stats of teams, but the Giants look like garbage. They don't have a quarterback. They're not going to be able to get the ball down the field. I can't believe that they scored points. We were so talking about,
of them.
like we said, hit the over because it doesn't matter what happens. The Cowboys are going to put up 44.
They put up 49. They hit
exactly
over by 10 points themselves. That was insane. That over-under was one of the biggest misses pregame I've ever seen.
Seriously, what was Vegas thinking, dude? They didn't watch the first week. Like
they brought it down. They brought it down from when we talked about it.
They brought it down more.
Dallas still covered the 17-point spread by a mile.
So
good.
At this point, if Sam Howell is on your team, if you're in a 2-quarterback league and you're able to get a hold of this guy, like Sam Howell is absolutely a fantasy starter. He just gets so many opportunities. He's got 312 yards, was the lowest that he's had over the last 3 games. He had 397 versus Philly, 325 at New England, and 312 at Seattle. I mean, dude, that is what we need. That's all we need, because all those yards mean more opportunities for scores. He's got 8 touchdowns over the last 3 weeks. I'll take that.
He's not afraid to run.
That's true. He's got
He gets it done with his legs.
10 carries over the last 3 weeks, totaling almost 50 yards. Like, dude, Sam Howell.
He's a Walmart Prime Josh Allen.
We've changed the name to the Pro Football Commanders Pod, and that's what we are. We are Pro Football Commanders.
We cannot do that.
So, moving on to the
show.
streamer.
Cowboys
show. Wow.
Pro
That's a good one. Jordan Love. Jordan Love has a good matchup this week. He's available in a lot of leagues. He's available in 2/3 of the leagues that I'm in right now.
Yeah, because I've dropped him in every league.
The Chargers are the 5th most points against quarterbacks. And over the past month, he's put up 19 fantasy points, 16 fantasy points, 15 fantasy points, and 20 fantasy points. I think that 3/4 of those points came in the 4th quarter in all of those games. But they're obviously going to be down. They're obviously going to need to throw the ball. He's got Jaden Reed and Romeo Dobbs, like we've talked about in past videos. So he's got the weapons. And now Aaron Jones isn't elite, but he does look like he's starting to get back into being healthy and having a role that at least draws some pressure off of Jordan Love.
Well, over the last 3 games, he's gone for over 225 passing yards and at least 1 passing touchdown. Now, the one
you want
thing
to see
you
more
do
passing
want to
touchdowns.
you also want to see less interceptions.
Yeah.
Over the last
Yeah.
3 games, he also has 3 interceptions.
Now,
which-
2 of them was this past week versus Pittsburgh. They have been losing. They only won against the Rams because they didn't have Stafford. They had Brett, whatever the hell that. I'm so glad I don't know that guy's name.
Ripon Fouts.
Yeah. So that guy is gone. That's why Carson Wentz is now an NFL quarterback again. He gets to get the Josh Dobbs contact card. Wow,
Treatment.
can't think right now. Can't think. So that brings us into receivers. Rashee Rice, Kansas City Chiefs #1 receiver, absolute dog of an athlete. Not a
just
lot of
coming up every week, just getting more and more work. I've
a great
never
quarterback
felt
to work
so
with.
solidified drafting somebody and holding on to them all year.
for a dynasty
He's shown
play.
you each week
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
ability. That's the thing. It's just like each week
Well,
there's
my main
ability
thing-
he's showing you. Like
That, but my main thing too was outside of Kelsey, like they're just begging for somebody to take over.
exactly.
Like Kadarius Toney just has shown he can't do it. Valdez Scantling has shown he can't do it. Juju was there. He had solid work for him, but he decided to go chase the bag in New England for whatever reason. So I mean, just Rashid has stepped right into that Juju role, and we've seen it every week. He's just getting more and more work, and I don't see it slowing down because once we really start getting into the thick of the race, and the Chiefs realize they're needing to solidify that #1 seed, he's just going to keep getting more work.
And they get
He's
Philly
the
this
second
week
best receiver coming out of the draft class.
And they get Philly this week.
behind Jalen Hyatt.
No, behind Addison.
Okay. I remembered that you were saying Jalen Hyatt was your favorite receiver.
No, he
coming
is,
out.
but opportunity wise, like in the team wise, like where they get placed. Once Jalen Hyatt got placed on the Giants, he was dead.
that's a good call. But getting
Yeah.
Philly's the easiest matchup that they're going to have all season. They have no cornerbacks. I'm pretty sure that they got white people out there playing corner or something like that. Probably
Can't
the
have
closest
that.
in the league. I mean,
Can't
can't
have
have that at all. So I think that Rashee Rice moving forward, though, he gets Las Vegas and Green Bay, then he gets Buffalo, New England, and then he gets Las Vegas again. Those are some tough matchups, and this isn't a guy that I'm necessarily looking to start long term. Going into the fantasy playoffs, I don't love some of those.
They're tough matchups, but they're also matchups to where you look at it and they should be games where the Chiefs are forced to score.
What's going to be important for me is what happens this week versus Philly. If Philly is able to do what Miami did and shut down Travis Kelce to less than 3 or 4 targets, less than 2 or 3 catches, I think that then if Rashee Rice gets 10 targets, a touchdown, 50, 60 yards, 8 targets even, a touchdown, 50, 60 yards, and next week he gets another 6, and he could keep on the 6 train. I'm just seeing that versus Miami, he only got 2 targets for 17 and a touchdown, but dude, 2 targets is not enough for me to get excited.
All the games they've struggled in offensively have been games that Travis Kelce has just been a non-factor.
Yep.
But I also do want to throw it out there. It still remains true this season. Travis Kelce in games that Taylor Swift does not attend the game.
He's got her
just-
season tickets
he
at this
does
point.
not score any game that she attends. He's over 75 yards receiving and a touchdown.
Well, not necessarily always a touchdown, because one game he didn't score a touchdown, but he had like 10 catches for like 130 yards
Still,
and went
this is
crazy.
He shows out for his girl, so you.
Hey,
gotta
I mean,
appreciate
wouldn't
that, I
you?
guess, but-
Wouldn't you show out for Taylor? I would.
Yes, Taylor.
I-
I mean,
hey,
I
if
know
you're
you've
listening.
got the tour going on right now, but you might need to, help your boy out this week.
Straight up.
Now,
They're at home. Chiefs are home.
versus Philly, yes, they're in
Yeah.
Arrowhead.
Yeah,
Yep.
she should be there.
And so the Pro Commanders pod shall continue with Terry McLaurin.
Now, we talked about how bad of a
He's
game he
mad.
had this past week. And this week he gets the New York Football Giants. and the New York Football Giants look like they're not able to play football for the rest of the season, and like they might just pick some college team to finish out their games because they're gonna do better than what they've been doing so far. So it just seems
Rutgers. Get
like
Rutgers in there.
for real. Bill Belichick would be so
Right
happy
down
if he
the
could
road.
get all
Just get
Rutgers
Rutgers
players
in there. Just
on
do
his
it.
team instead of the Patriots. If he could just
Oh, he
have the
would.
Rutgers, he would take it right now, full Rutgers.
1000%.
That's
So
not the college you want to be picking from.
that's the one that Bill Belichick picks from, and he gets all of his studs
And
from
that's
there.
why
I don't
he's
know
on his
how.
way out.
No.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, he's splitting from the
I think-
Pats, and he's going to coach somewhere else.
I think similar to a veteran quarterback picking on the rookie corner all game long, you need to pick on the Giants for the rest of the season. They're not going to have an offense. They can't formulate drives. They're going to make it very easy for their opponents to do well. So Terry McLaurin, whether or not it's a great matchup for wide receivers, is going to get too many opportunities in the red zone to not start. I think that Curtis Samuel might be a start as well this week. I think Jahan Dotson doesn't get started while both of them are healthy because he hasn't shown that he can get enough targets with all of those mouths to feed, even though Sam Howell is so amazing and gets the ball out so much. He doesn't like Jahan Dotson. He must have fucked his girlfriend or something. I don't know.
That's a wild accusation.
I mean, something happened there. I don't know what happened, but something must have happened. For all those receivers out there, don't fuck your quarterback's girlfriend. She might be hot. Hotter than all the girls that you've been with lately, and she might come on to you, but don't do it. Okay?
Okay.
Anything to add on Terry McLaurin or the wide receiver situation?
I agree. Don't think too much into him after this last week because statistically, lately, unless you're a slot receiver, the Seahawks have, for the most part, their corners have been shutting dudes down on the outside. Like, they're showing a drop off in their stats when they go up against those two young Seahawks corners. So I'm not looking into that too much at all. And like you said, especially going into this week versus the Giants, he's an absolute slam play. He's a guy where you're looking at his receiving props going into the week, seeing, what's a smash position on that as well, especially after what CD and Brandon Cooks just did to them.
Mm-hmm. I mean, 9 targets, 12 targets, 8 targets, 8 targets. That's his last month of football. He hasn't reached 100 yards all season, which is crazy. Like, this is Terry McLaurin, Ohio State wide receiver, great wide receiver that everyone's been all over him since he was a rookie, and he hasn't gotten 100 yards. He's gotten 90 yards once. So, I mean, I don't think that this is the game that he gets 100, but I think that he's a solid start. Like, he's getting enough targets. He gets the opportunities. He has to eventually do good with them. So maybe it's like versus the Giants. Next week versus Dallas, maybe you give him a little sit. I think maybe Brian Robinson's the only player I really would want to play versus Dallas, and I still don't know about that. That's only just because he's a top 10 running back. How do you sit a top 10 running back?
They're getting a tutty every week.
I mean, Sam Howell too, but I'm like, dude, even that's scary. They haven't
the Commanders podcast though.
for real.
The past few weeks, I mean, they're just fantasy darlings right now.
And that's a good point, Justin. We'll end the episode with garbage time teams are always fantasy darlings.
Always.
Like, always.
Houston.
And we knew that they were going to be a garbage time team. Houston, bro, make a great point, Austin. They've been in these close games, needing to get it done at the very end. It's not total garbage time because they've been winning these games, but it's still just like the fourth quarter is get it done or get the hell out type of time. And it's the same here at the Pro Football Pod. We're going to get it done for you. We got another episode coming in on Friday. We got Friday for the fans. We give you a preview of all the games, some betting advice, and answer any questions that you guys have with all the energy that you've ever needed. We're going to give you guys our sponsor, Tulsi Rose Tea at tulsirosetea.com. You guys can go to down below and like, comment, and subscribe. And make sure to catch us on the running backs and tight ends episode. Peace.
Dope.